Hello, how are you now? I'm James Whelan, occasional talking head for smallcaps.com. Joining me today is Craig Lindsay, head of US operations at Resolution Minerals. Craig, long time no speak. Last time I spoke to you was over in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago for lunch, mate. Big headline today, as usual. People who meet with me, usually it's always on to bigger and better things very shortly after they meet with me. Big headline today. You've doubled your current drill program at Horse Heaven, which is great. 18 to 20 extra holes at about 18,000 feet. You've also increased your land holding as well. Which one do you want to speak to first? The floor is yours, my friend.
Sure. Well, thanks. Great to see you, James. It was fantastic to see you in Vancouver, but seeing you remotely here is great too. Let's start with the increased land holdings. We added about 600 acres to our land package. So we're about 59 square kilometers of claims. We added these claims at the southern end of our property. And it was, your readers may have seen a story about some stream sediment sampling work that we've started. So we wanted to add some land holdings in an area in the southern portion of our project that we considered highly prospective, for mineralization. As your listeners will know, we're right next to the Stibnite mine. It's fully permitted. They just got about $2 billion in financing arranged. There's a lot of people looking around the Yellow Pine mining district, which is our area. So we want to make sure we've got all of the land covered in and around our project that we consider to be highly prospective for mineralization. So we're going to continue to assess additional land holdings, but this was a strategic increase in our land position, and we're quite excited to have that larger land package under our control.
Yeah, not a bad idea, that one, actually, especially if you know that if you feel there's a good chance there's something out there, it's best to have it instead of let it go somewhere else. So now let's get to the top headline, which is the expansion of the current drill program. What are the details on that?
Yeah, well, under our existing plan of operation, we were supposed to be off the hill by September 30th, and we've been running a core drilling program, about 8 to 10 holes, about 9,000 feet of drilling. We went to the Forest Service. We asked for an amendment to our plan of operation, which is effectively allowing us to increase the length of time we're going to drill out at our project through the end of October. So we'll have at least another month of drilling. And what we plan to do is pull the core drill off the hill as per the previous plan on September 30th. And then we'll have a reverse circulation rig out there for the remainder of the season drilling. And it's going to allow us to about double our program. So really exciting. We're going to get a lot more footage down. We're going to get a significantly greater amount of knowledge of the resource potential at the Golden Gate target. It's going to give us enough information, we think, to get to an initial maiden resource next year. So all really positive.
Now let's talk specifically. What was it that you saw in the early holes that have given you conviction to be able to scale up to the with an extra 18 to 20?
Well, we put out some news a couple of weeks ago just about some visuals that we were seeing in the core that was coming out of the hole. And we've got one of our consulting geologists has worked for about 10 years at the Stibnite mine next door. And he was looking at that core and he said, guys, this is exactly the kind of rock that we see that runs well over at the Stibnite mines. Visually, the core looks very strong. We also saw in some of the core that was coming out under an ultraviolet light, we saw a lot of blue, demonstrating that there was some scheelite mineralization in the upper parts of the hole. So I think those two things gave us some good confidence to continue the drilling program.
Okay, and you know better than I do, Craig. So now let's go back to what you mentioned about the US Forestry Service extending your season by a month. That's very handy. If we could talk about generally the space and the industry at the moment, the main reasoning behind that, what changed on the ground there? Was it stakeholder alignment? Was it potentially the project's critical minerals profile? What drove that from the US Forestry?
You know, we've developed a really strong relationship with the town of Yellow Pine. So we went to them first and said, hey guys, would you be okay if we extended our drill season? Would you support that? Number one. And the strong relationship that our drilling team has developed with the town of Yellow Pine, they were like, absolutely, we would support you guys doing that. We've been buying water off of the town of Yellow Pine. We've been spending money in the community through the rental of homes and that sort of thing. So they're behind us. So then we went to the Forest Service and said, the town of Yellow Pine is behind this. And would you guys allow us to do this? And the reality is, I think the Forest Service has been very happy with the quality of work that we're doing from an environmental perspective. They come out and check regularly on the drilling, and we are operating to the highest standards. And that's given them a bunch of comfort to go back and look at this and say, yeah, they are ticking all of our boxes. Let's give them a little bit more leash and allow them to keep drilling. So the relationship with the town of Yellow Pine has been great, and the relationship with the Forest Service has been great. And we really appreciate the relationship that we are developing with the Forest Service. And it's important because as we develop this project down the road, you want to make sure you don't have any missteps coming out of the gate with your first drill program. You want to put your best foot forward, and we have done that. And I think the Forest Service has recognized it. But
Okay.
relationship's fantastic.
Yeah, it's all about that. I've seen that done badly. I've seen it done well. Looks like you guys are doing it quite well. So that's a credit to you and the management of the US operation over there for yourself. From the 1st of October, you transitioned to reverse circulation after finishing the 8th core hole. What are the speed, cost, and sample quality trade-offs on that? How do you maintain quality assurance, quality control, continuity between? That's a lot of question there, isn't it? Look, it's
It's
from
okay.
the 1st of October, you transitioned to reverse circulation, RC drilling. How do you maintain a continuity between the core drilling and the RC data sets?
Well, a couple of things I want to say. Number one, we're going to be drilling core at about half of the cost of, sorry, let me say that again. That's a great question, James.
Yeah.
And I'll answer it in a different way. Number one, RC drilling is about 50% of the cost of core drilling. Number two, you're probably going to get efficiencies in terms of the footage that you drill. I'm kind of double the amount of drilling out of RC that you get out of core. So you're going to get more drilling at a lower cost. So that's fantastic. And then just the QA, QC protocols that are in place for both core and RC drilling, there's really no issues with respect to the quality of drilling. What I would say, and any of your listeners who are technically oriented will know, every geologist out there wants to drill core, because particularly when you're in an environment like ours where there's a significant amount of structure that you're drilling. And when you drill with core, you're able to see those structures very well. The nice thing about our drill program, we're going to have core from the north end of Golden Gate all the way down to the south end. And then when we come in and follow that on with RC, we're going to be able to do, I wouldn't call it necessarily infill. It's going to be a combination of infill and step out drilling. So we will have the benefit of the seeing all of the structure in the core right down the length of Golden Gate. And then we're going to get just the additional footage at a lower cost through the RC program. So it's going to be a nice mix.
Yeah, okay. And you did mention infill versus step out. What decision gates are you targeting there?
Well, you're be about 50-50 in terms of step out and infill with the RC program.
Yeah. Okay, well, that makes more sense. Yeah, it does set the scene for something later on down the track, which is great. Now back to Golden Gate. You've observed visible tungsten in consecutive holes. What's the geographical model for the system there? How do those metals relate spatially?
It's good question. So across our project, you get different mixes of mineralization. At Golden Gate, historically, what you're seeing is a heavy gold content right through the whole strike zone, 3 kilometers long. And then at certain areas, certainly up in the northern end of Golden Gate, you see tungsten mineralization. And there was a historic tungsten mine up there, both open pit and underground. And we're seeing the tungsten more at the north end of the deposit. But when you look at Golden Gate, tungsten's fantastic and we're excited about that. But this is a great gold story. Gold's up, 40% this year? $3,800 an ounce in the right commodity at the right time with gold. So I'm really hoping to pull some good gold numbers with a nice tungsten kicker in it. There is also at Golden Gate an antimony anomaly that runs parallel to the Golden Gate fault zone. We're hoping to kind of hit some of that target with the drilling that we're doing right now, but the main focus right now at Golden Gate is largely gold and it's tungsten.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that does make a lot of sense based on what you can see there. So speaking of what you can see, what are the next assay batches due for the first 8 core holes? What should investors watch for? Just with regards to timing is always important with these stocks.
Yeah, well, we've got 8 holes down. We've got 3 holes that have been submitted to ALS for assay. Turnaround time is 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay. So that's about that. Look at the date now. Yep, that should time in okay. Definitely before Christmas, so that's fine. Which is good. Now,
long before Christmas.
Long before Christmas, it's okay. It does. Unfortunately,
we'll get stuff out end of October, and then you'll start seeing the results coming out fairly regularly after that, right into the new year.
Yeah, well, that's good. Things don't really slow down. That's good to know, Craig. So, speaking of things that are coming out, what are the top 3 catalysts that you've got from here? You've mentioned the RC, the reverse circulation meters that are going to be completed, the man-portable results at Antimony Ridge, and the assay releases. Are they the 3 main things you've got going on? Or the main catalysts, I should say?
Yeah, I think the main catalyst obviously is drill results. That's going to be the big thing that drives this story going forwards over the next couple of months. Secondly, if we can get the weather holds and we can double that drill program, that's going to be very, very positive. I'm really excited about what we might see coming out from the stream sediment sampling program, which is focused on an area entirely away from the known targets of Golden Gate and Antimony Ridge. So very excited about looking for mineralization around the buried intrusion that lies between Horseheaven and the Stibnite project. We're also actually going to be doing some metallurgical test work on both tungsten and antimony that's been taken off of the hill. So there's going to be quite a bit of news coming out. You'll know that we completed a significant financing. There's capital available, and we want to pour gas on this fire and get this thing really rolling.
Yeah, well, that does make a lot of sense. You are well and truly funded, that's for sure. It's always good talking a company with something that's on the horizon like this, and a bunch of good news that's on the back of doing a raise. It's always fantastic. You're not going to get tripped up by something unusual in the next couple of weeks ahead. Now let's bring it back to the headline, and just to close it off here, Craig, as well. What does success look like for the double program by season end, and what should shareholders expect as you roll the data into resource scoping and phase 2 planning?
Yeah, I think success for me is going to be having some numbers come out of this drill program in sufficient quantity that's going to allow us to put together a maiden resource estimate in the new year. I mean, I think that's a realistic goal for us. That's my focus. Getting some tungsten numbers is going to be very positive, and it really would be nice to be able to, out at Antimony Ridge, to demonstrate or to identify a little bit better where some of these high-grade veins are that are going to carry the day out at Antimony Ridge.
Excellent. Okay, well, look, that's all the time that we've got available here. Craig, anything else you want to speak about? Otherwise, we're going to close it off.
No, really appreciate you taking the time, James, and it's got to get back to work here. It's exciting.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm looking forward to catching up with you again. Craig Lindsay, Head of US Operations at Resolution Minerals. Craig, thank you so much, mate.
Hey, thanks, James. Appreciate it.
Have yourself a good one. I'm James Whelan, occasional talking head for smallcaps.com.au. I'll catch you later. Stay safe.